Every day we're getting more and more info about Thor 4, which for some reason they decided not to call Thor, but rather Thor Love and Thunder. And just like I did with No Way Home, for both your convenience and my own, I wanted to compile all the stuff we know about this film so far in one place. Now, potential spoilers here, but most of this stuff has been officially confirmed, like some story details and casting choices. But if you don't know anything, actually, then why would you click on a video with this title? But regardless, before I say anything that is more of a leak, like for example a couple of cameos, rather than something that has been officially confirmed by Marvel that could be considered more of a spoiler, I will give another extra warning, so don't worry about it at all. Alright, let's get into this. So first off, the basics. This will be directed by Thor Ragnarok's, and other great things, Taika Waititi, and is now scheduled for release on May 6th, 2022. It will feature returning Thor cast members Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie, Taika Waititi as Korg, Jeff Goldblum as the Grandmaster, Jamie Alexander as Sif, and Natalie Portman as Jane Foster. More on her in a bit. To recap where we left these characters in Endgame, Valkyrie is now the ruler of Asgard, which is now this fishing village type place, and Thor has gone off with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Hashtag Asgardians of the Galaxy. Hashtag for Thor. So with that in mind, even if it's quite briefly, we will also be seeing the return of Chris Pratt, Dave Bautista, Karen Gillan, Pom Clementif, Sean Gunn, and I would also guess Vin Diesel and Bradley Cooper in their voice roles. Personally, I imagine that they will be there very briefly at the start. Thor is dropped off and he says goodbye to them. I don't imagine they'll play a big role in the story, but that's not confirmed. Now the villain of the film has been confirmed to be Gore the God Butcher. Pretty great supervillain name if you ask me. Played by Christian Bale. As far as who this guy is, he doesn't like gods, in case that wasn't obvious. From the reading I've done about this character, here's what I've gathered. He's an alien whose wife and children are killed, and after finding out that gods actually exist, he realizes that the gods never answered his prayers, and so decides to kill all gods. He uses a weapon called All Black the Necro Sword. Again, excellent weapon name. Kingdom Rush-esque, which gives him the usual powers of super strength and speed and durability and all that. Plus, it can create sharp weapon-like objects, not unlike Hela's powers, and actual living creatures to do his bidding called Black Berserkers. So there's a good opportunity for a big army to fight. This is all stuff from the comic, just to be clear. Now, this character also has gotten tied up with time travel, involving storylines with multiple different versions of Thor. I kinda doubt that that's what's gonna happen here, given that the film seems to have a lot else going on, but you never know. So yeah, all in all, sounds like a pretty perfect villain for the Taika Waititi crazy, over-the-top 80s vibes, with names like the God Butcher and All Black the Necro Sword. I can already imagine someone saying those things too dramatically in a delightfully cheesy way. Now, probably the biggest confirmed news about this film is that the film will at least partially be adapting the Jane Foster Thor comic storyline. And in this film, Natalie Portman returns and will get the powers of Thor while she's going through cancer. I haven't read that comic run myself, so it'll be cool to see it for the first time play out on the big screen, because that does sound like a really interesting premise. I had no idea about the cancer aspect of the story. Also, she will be called Mighty Thor in the film, as that comic run was as well. So yeah, I'm not sure how this will affect Chris Hemsworth's Thor. Does it mean only one of them can have the powers? Does it mean she'll be taking over going forward? Is it just a thing for this film? Who knows? There may be answers to that in the comics, but the MCU does deviate from the comics to fit its own story quite often, so we'll have to wait and see. Something else quite interesting that I've seen a lot of is that Taika Waititi has described this movie as a romance film, and he said he's doing that because he wanted to make something different, as well as he's just really into romances now. To quote him talking about this film, "It is so insane and also very romantic. I'm into romances now. I just want to have a romance. I want to make something I've never done or never cared for. I would like to attack something like that." So that's an interesting direction to take this. It could kind of also have been assumed based on the title. Of course, this will still have the MCU craziness and action and adventure and all that, but a more romance-focused film, especially with the fun style and humor of Taika Waititi and the Ragnarok versions of these characters, could be quite fun and a more unique thing in the MCU. My main, and largely only big problem with Ragnarok was its lack of heart and emotion. It was just really funny and enjoyable, but never made me feel that much of any other emotions, like for example how the Guardians films do. So maybe there's a chance for that here. Maybe Jane Foster coming back will play into that romance aspect, exploring where her and Thor's relationship went wrong, and it's also been confirmed that Valkyrie's bisexuality will be a part of the film and directly acknowledged, so that could also play into that romance aspect as well. On Waititi talking about this film, he's also said it's, quote, "so over the top now in the very best way," unquote. And after this comes out, Thor Ragnarok will look like a, quote, run-of-the-mill, very safe film, unquote. He also says that the film is like if, quote, 10-year-olds told us what should be in the movie and we said yes to every single thing, unquote. Now, he had me until that last part. Ragnarok was definitely weird and crazy by MCU standards, but yeah, I can see how you could go crazier with it, and that sounds like a lot of fun. More weird space stuff, there's a ton of potential here. As long as a good story still grounds it, so it's not just craziness for the sake of craziness, it surrounds a good story, that sounds great. The 10-year-olds thing sounds kind of like a nightmare, if I'm being honest. I don't want to watch a Marvel movie made by 10-year-olds. But also, I'm gonna assume he means more just fun, crazy visuals and action scenes and space fights and creatures and that sort of stuff. And not literally everything, like the story and characters. I trust that's more what he meant by that. That it'll be ridiculous and crazy like a 10-year-old would love, but still have good, competent writing and a structure. I mean, that's what he must have meant by that, right? So yeah, more weirdness and over-the-top 80s-ness with these characters. Sounds like a damn good time to me. Now just a few miscellaneous things before I get into the very few things that could be considered minor spoilers. Apparently this film will explore in some capacity more of the Korg species culture. Probably a bit briefly I'd imagine, but cool. The Space Sharks, a race of aliens, will be in this. The song Rainbow in the Dark by Dio, and/or Dio, will be in it. Which yeah, that definitely checks out with what it seems like this movie's going for. And I imagine there'll be other similar songs in it as well. Just a fun fact here, some of it will be filmed using that Mandalorian type of projection tech, or has already been filmed, I guess. And finally, Waititi has said Silver Surfer will not be in it. I guess there were rumors or hopes that he would be, and Waititi's also expressed interest in putting Beta Ray Bill in this, but nothing has been said beyond that on that front. So don't expect that, but it does seem like a very Waititi kind of thing. Now finally, here are a couple of things that could be considered minor spoilers. It's mostly cameo stuff, no major plot details here. There is one piece of casting that could be a big plot detail. You've probably heard it already, but there's no guarantee what it will be. It's just the casting news. But most of this seems to spoil a joke in here, if you don't want to hear that. And that one casting choice has been confirmed by the actor himself, so it's not like some exclusive spoiler leak, but regardless, if you'd rather not know that kind of stuff, you can click off now. 3, 2, 1. Okay. It appears we're getting the return of the Asgardian play, but this time the actors will be acting out the events of Thor Ragnarok, and who knows, maybe Infinity War and Endgame as well. It might be more than we even know now, but we've got Matt Damon as fake Loki, along with Luke Hemsworth and Sam Neill as Thor and Odin, and new additions Melissa McCarthy as Hela and Ben Falcone in an undisclosed part. Though if it's reenacting Ragnarok, maybe he could be the Karl Urban character? There's also a set video of this floating around out there, which you're welcome to go find if you want. I'd recommend just waiting till the film comes out. It basically just spoils what that scene will kind of look like. I'm also gonna guess that this could be the opening scene of the film, a play reenacting the events of Ragnarok to catch the audience up, and maybe even more. There's the question of will we see Fat Thor return in this? Waititi hasn't confirmed or denied it, but he did say he wants to keep changing things up, and that, coupled with these set photos, where by the way we also get a new outfit for Thor, I'm gonna guess we won't see that return. There'll probably be some throwaway line in there about him working out as time has passed, maybe another jab at Star-Lord being fat, even though he's in better shape than like 99% of the population. But when you're Chris Hemsworth and you've been on that chicken diet for about 10 years, I guess you get to say whatever you want when it comes to fitness. And finally, that piece of casting news is that Russell Crowe is going to be in this as Zeus. I've seen this be described as a, quote, fun cameo, which makes me think it could be more of a Matt Damon kind of thing, and less a major plot element. It could be a bit of a joke, like there could be some banter about Greek versus Norse gods, even though I know the Greek gods exist in Marvel Comics and they're not exactly the traditional Greek gods, but still, that seems like a Taika Waititi kind of thing to do. Or it could be part of the story, it could be a setup for a future plot element, it could be a post-credit scene, who knows. But Russell Crowe has said he's in this as Zeus. So, there you go. I have to say, pretty cool to be getting Crowe and Bale in the MCU now. And that's it. That's everything we know so far about Thor, Love and Thunder. For Thor. What do you think of all of this, and how excited are you for this movie in comparison to the other Phase 4 films? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. While you're at it, be sure to like this video, check out my Instagram and Twitter at BHL_Hudson, check out this podcast that I do with a friend of mine where we talk about movies, TV shows, a bunch of nonsense. It's called The Poorly Planned Podcast, and subscribe for more videos like the one you just watched. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.